Okay, so I wanted to just cover the last one, the solid-solid phase diagram, and focus mostly on incongruent melting, because we talked about the melting points, but we were kind of rushed. And so I wanted to focus on this one. And this is I love this phase diagram because it's so busy. There's lots of things going on. And so we have silicon and calcium mixed in all proportions here. And then we have these three different sort of compounds, specific ratios of atoms or elements in these three spots. You got a 50-50 where it's Ca1, Si2. You have a 33-67. And so look here carefully where this is located, right? So this is 33% silicon. So that means it's 67% calcium. And so if you were to come up with this formula, you need to be able to figure out which one has two atoms and which one has one, right? It's 2/3 of the way to calcium, so it's Ca2 and one silicon. That's an easy place for y'all to mess up. I don't want you to mess that up. Does that make sense? It's over on the calcium side of 50-50. So there's more calcium, so it's Ca2 Si. Look at this one. This is over on the silicon side. There's more silicon than calcium, so it's calcium silicon 2. And then right in the middle is 50-50. It's one atom of each. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to give you any crazy ones, but there could be. Let's say it was 60%. How do you get 60% out of whole numbers, right? That would be 3/5. Okay, so it might be 3 silicons and 2 calciums. So like this one would be Si3 Ca2. Or I wrote them backwards, Ca2 Si3, but still the numbers are correct. And then 20%, that would be 1/5. And so that would be something like Ca4 Si1. Because these are mole fractions, and so it's just the number of moles, right? And so you take, you could do this 20 moles of silicon for every 100 moles of stuff, right? Okay, what is that then? That's 1/5, isn't it? 1/5. So you have 5 atoms total, and one of those atoms is a silicon. So the other 4 atoms have to be the calcium. The calcium would be 80 100ths or 4/5. Does that make sense? So that's how you get those numbers. Let's talk about the melting points now too. So this one, I don't know why it's not written. This is the only one that's not listed, but this pure melting of silicon, it looks like it's above the 50% mark. So let's say it's 1420. These are all in degrees C. So that'd be the melting point of pure silicon. The melting point of pure calcium is over here at 842. And there's no way to predict the melting points of these other compounds, okay, just by knowing those 2 melting points. And so you've got to actually, material scientists have to actually make these different alloys and compounds and see what exists. And so it turns out that these first 2 have pure melting points. So these substances have normal melting points of 1314 and 1324. So these are, I will say normal. Normal melting points. Here and here. What am I looking at to determine that those are normal melting points? They're maximum. Yeah, see, they're maximum. They have the tops of these curves. They're the maximum point in both of these curves. This one's not normal. This one is called an incongruent melting point. Thanks, Haley. So the compound doesn't make it all the way to a maximum. It decomposes very close to a eutectic. So these minimum values here are eutectics. And those are favored mixtures that have the lowest melting point. I guess it would be a mixture that has the highest entropy. So it's one that can melt at the lowest point. So the highest entropy would be the lowest melting point. And so this CaSi2 comes up here, and at 1040 it splits apart, and it looks like it's melting, but there's still a little bit of solid, but the solid is CaSi. So it's like it undergoes a phase transition and begins to melt. So there's a little bit of liquid phase, and then there's some CaSi, and it keeps going. If we started out with this composition and we keep warming it up, during this whole range here, so this whole range right there, you've got a liquid phase and a solid phase. So if you're looking at a little capillary tube of this stuff and you're trying to do a melting point, at 1040 it starts to melt, but there's still some solid present. And you keep raising the temperature and there's a little bit more liquid and a little bit less solid, and then finally all the solid is gone. But it wasn't sharp, right? It didn't all melt instantly. There was a range. And so incongruent melting points, you may have a pure substance here, but you've got a melting range. And so that's why it's incongruent. You can't tell it's a pure substance because it has a melting range. And so all of these others, let's say we're right here and we start warming this compound up. Okay. As soon as we hit this, we're going to have a liquid range, and we're going to have, this solid. Right here we've got a little bit of liquid, a little bit of solid. So if we come down here, we're all solid right here. So we come up, as soon as we hit this bar, we have a liquid phase. And so we have a liquid phase all along until we get to here. So look how long there's a liquid phase for this substance right here. At 792, we start to have some liquid, and it's liquid all along here until we get up here to like 1200. So that's a huge melting range, and that tells you it's a non-pure compound. Okay, the pure substances have normal melting points. 4 of these substances have normal melting points: the pure calcium, pure silicon, pure Ca2Si, and pure CaSi, and then this is the only weird one. CaSi2 has incongruent melting. Okay, so that's as complicated as it gets for the binary solid-solid phase diagrams. And what's that? Go ahead. Above which curve? The blue line right here? This one? Yeah. Okay, so this right here is all solid because we're below this eutectic, but as soon as we get above 792, then, like, let's say we're right here, you would draw a horizontal line to this place and a horizontal line to this place, and this would be the liquid phase, and this would be the solid phase. So you would have some Ca2Si solid grains, and you'd have a liquid that had some calcium and silicon liquid floating around. And as you move up, notice how this is getting closer to the fulcrum, and so this phase is increasing. So, this is your fulcrum. You could do your lever rule, and it was about 50-50. But you get up right here, now you've got a lot more liquid phase and a little bit of solid. And then here it's all liquid and no solid because we're right on the blue line. So that liquid phase is growing that whole time from 792 all the way to 1200. And you would say, wow, there's liquid this whole time. I know this isn't a pure substance, because a pure substance with a normal melting point would be solid, solid, solid all the way to the top, and then it would pause and it would all melt, and then it would be all liquid. And so I just want to end with this. This is complicated enough. This is 2 atoms or 2 elements, but then we get into 3. And we're not going to test you on this, but I'm showing you that material scientist has to deal with more than just 2 elements. This is iron, chromium, and nickel. And these are all the different phases for the stainless steel, and they put in those elements. They even add in some vanadium and other elements, but this is a ternary phase diagram. And I just want to show you how you would read this ternary phase diagram. So we're looking down here. This bottom axis is nickel, and so this is 100% nickel and 0% chromium. And if it's 100% nickel, there's 0% iron as well. So this is 0% iron down here. So how do we read this? Let's pick a point in space. Let's pick that point right there. What are the 3 components? Okay, so we come across here, and this is 0% chromium. And we know if we were here, we would have 0% chromium. If we were, let's say right here, we would have a 90% nickel and 10% chromium. But we're right here, so we come across. So we're always horizontal to the 0 line. So we go horizontal to the 0 line and hit the axis, and that's 20% chromium. So then how much iron do we have? So this is the 0 line for iron. And so how does this point have a line that's parallel to the 0 line? Okay, it comes across parallel to the 0 line and hits that axis at 15. Okay, and then this one goes parallel to the 0 line. So the 0 line for nickel is down here. And so parallel to that line is this green line, and that hits at 65. So that point has the 3-phase composition or 3-component composition of 20% chromium, 15% iron, and 65% nickel. So that's how you read a tease plot or a ternary diagram. Again, I'm not going to test you on that. I just wanted to put that out there just to show you that they get more complicated even than the complicated one that we talked about today.
So the nickel is parallel to iron?
No, this says iron down here, but that just indicates that that's that corner is the 100% iron line. So this right here is 100% iron and 0% nickel. So then we come along here, and this would be the 100% nickel and 0% chromium. And then we get up here, this is 100% chromium. Okay. Does that make sense? These are kind of break your brain a little bit. Yeah, and I always have to relearn them every time I get a new one. I have to like pick several places on the chart and convince myself. Now, how can you check your work? If you do it wrong, it doesn't add up to 100%. Okay, so let's say we did this one and it was parallel to, we got the parallel lines wrong. So we would draw this one over here, this one over here, and this one over here. Okay, so then that comes in at 80, 35, and 85. That's way over 100. So I know those aren't the correct lines. So you draw the lines and they add up to 100%. And if they don't add up to 100%, you're following the wrong parallel. Okay, I'm going to end this here. We'll start a new video on the review.